Hi, folks, and welcome to another exciting episode of Points of Interest Dronecast. We've got a great show for you today, including an interview with none other than Jim Baugh, super producer and outdoorsman. Also, we've got a couple news stories, right, coming up?
Oh, yes.
Fantastic. And, of course, we'll end with Prax tips again.
Yes.
Hey, let's go. Exploring the people, places, and technology in the growing drone industry. This is the Points of Interest Dronecast. And welcome back to the Points of Interest show. We've got a great show for you today, starting with our interview, as we try to do every week. We're doing one with a really cool guy. Matter of fact, I've known this guy for probably 30 years, okay? Jim Baugh. He's a producer, director. He's even a host of his own show. He does an outdoor show called the Jim Baugh Outdoor Show. And when he's not doing that, he works for Solid Structures, which is a pool company that does all kinds of things. He shoots all the video of their installations. And he also has another media company called Mermaid Bay. So Mermaid Bay Air, but he'll tell you more about that. But it's a great interview, so let's get right to that. Here's Jim Baugh. Welcome, Jim. Welcome to the show. Glad you could make it here on Points of Interest.
Great to see you, Gary.
Well, I was explaining before we even got on the air to my cohort here in the studio, Prac, that we're old friends. I actually worked for you back at Blab TV. I was even a guest a few times, right?
How many decades ago? I'm not sure.
Yeah, do you remember what years those were? I don't even think I know. Okay.
Sometime in the mid 80s, I think.
Mid 80s, yeah, that's probably right.
Maybe 86. For the people who don't know, they were based out of Florida. It was a live television, multi-cable cast, 2 systems out of Richmond, and we did a live broadcast for 3 hours, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and you had great guests. You had national guests, and you had stupid people like me sometimes, I guess, to fill the the void.
We even had Robert Goulet on, which I could not believe. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, a ton of work. But we did have some fun shows.
So when did you start the outdoor show?
Immediately after, I had actually produced a live call-in show called The Fishing Line at Blab TV. And then the station got sold. So I was out of there and decided, long story short, well, the show was so popular. So I'm going to do maybe Fishing Virginia. Back then, nothing like that had been done. It was the first ever outdoor show that was broadcast on affiliates. The game department had like a public service show. But I gave myself 90 days to put it together. And I did. I got enough sponsors. And that launched it. And that was right, that'd be like mid to later 1980s. And we've been doing that now for 36 years. And the last 3 years, I'm stationed in Virginia Beach now. I'm also the content producer for Solid Structures. And that's a real exciting. I mean, this podcast is about drone work. The drone work I do for them is because they're a construction company. It is really incredible and very challenging. And they're a great company. I just have a blast. So I'm able to do the best of both worlds, still do the outdoor show, and then run around filming with all these drones for, swimming pools being installed, kitchens, all flying around cranes, all sorts of stuff. But pretty much started my drone training actually when I lived on the Eastern Shore, and I lived there for about 8 years with my second wife, and it's a beautiful place. And I did a lot of work with the Eastern Shore Virginia Tourism and Virginia Tourism. They co-opt for a tourism film that we produced in conjunction with Eastern Shore Tourism. And that took about a year to film. And there was a lot of very tricky drone work in filming that. Of course, the establishing shots were very beautiful. They were easy enough to do. But it's where I really learned how to do line of sight flying. And that was very early on in my drone career, going back even before I got my license, was learning how to do that. And the shore was perfect. It was a great place to do that because basically all of the Eastern Shore, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is not a no-fly zone. You can fly anywhere for the most part. And because it's so rural, there's just a whole lot of places, pretty much everywhere, where you can practice line of sight flying. And so I used that very strategically in the film that I did for Virginia Tourism, and also for the TV show Jimbo Outdoors, and then the mini films that we did, promo films for tourism on the shore.
Can you remember two things? How long ago did you have your first drone, and what was it? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first drone, I didn't really own the first several drones that I used.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is going back, I can't even remember how many years ago. This was before really mass marketed drones. You could only get a drone if you built a kit. And a
Mm-hmm.
good friend of mine, you may know him. His name's Gary Gillum. He's retired.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he works at VCU.
G2 Productions, at VCU,
Sure.
professor. He's retired.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he and I were really good friends, and we would work together on some projects. And he called me over and he says, "Jim, you got to see this drone. You've got to get into drones, and you won't believe that we can do aerials." And up until that time, I'd done everything. We'd shot out of airplanes. Virginia Tourism, we had a deal where they'd pay for the airplanes, and I wouldn't charge for our company's time. I just wanted the aerial footage that badly.
Sure.
You know, we filmed all around the state during those years, and also helicopters. So I saw this kit drone, and it was pretty bizarre. I mean, you know, he was all into it, and I just thought, I'm not into drones as a hobby, kit drones, drone racing. I have no interest at all in drones whatsoever, even to this day, except a massive interest in cinematic usage for a drone. It's just one thing for me with the drone. And of course, I'm aware of everything drones are being used for these days, and that's great. But after that, I just said I'm going to wait until they're available. You know, when they're already made and packaged and they get smaller, that'll happen in a few years, and then I'll make my step into drone. And that's exactly what happened. So I flew probably 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 or 4 drones before eventually what came on the market, and I'm not mentioning any manufacturers' names or anything in this podcast, but I finally got one that was small enough and high quality enough that I could fly where I wanted to fly and do the kind of cinematic trick, so to speak. And I have that drone to this day, and I use that for all my tourism films with solid structures. I have used it a little bit, but primarily I did a drone comparison not that long ago. They had one particular drone that was fine, but it had some issues, so we needed to update. And now I'm flying one that's got 3 cameras on it, 3 different focal lengths, and that's really wonderful, because now I don't have to take 4 cameras in the field. Typically, I'd have to go up and I'd set up 3 or 4 cameras. I'd be operating 2 or 3 cameras plus flying a drone at the same time. Now I can launch the drone, and with those 3 focal lengths, I set up maybe establishing shot with 1 camera, and then I also have an X3 360 that I keep on a 10-foot pole, and that way I can grab it, let the drone hover over like a crane dropping a swimming pool, and then hover the drone, and then use the X3 and get all these 360 shots, and then edit together and get some really, really, really dynamic looking, incredible looking footage.
A couple of things that I see totally amazing. First of all, your ability to fly up through a canopy of trees without catching a tree or a limb is remarkable. I mean, you really have some skill there. So you were telling me that it's your line of sight type of flying. Tell me what that is for you.
Well, line of sight flying is something that I've pretty much started from the very beginning of my drone education, so to speak, from this guy in Italy. And the whole thing about it is that you can't have any of your sensors on, and you just have to trust yourself, and you have to know what you're looking for when you're in the field. And you're looking for windows, little flight paths. So if you're standing in the woods, and I think I sent you a picture of a sun ray coming down in the woods. If you're in the woods and you have your drone and you look up in the sky and you can see the sky, and you're looking at a sun ray, or you see a hole in the sky through all these thick woods, essentially what you do is you take your drone, and I bring it up right to eye level to take off, not from the ground. It's at eye level, so that you're putting that drone right at eye level to the hole in the sky.
Right.
So you can see a black dot, which is the drone, which is only a few feet in front of you, and you're filling the middle of that hole in the woods. Then what you do is you keep your eyes on that black hole, which is the drone. for, let's say it's 25 yards, 50 yards, 300 yards, and you fly that dot, and it'll get smaller and smaller and smaller the further you get the drone, and you keep it in the middle of the hole. Now the hole might only be this big in what you're flying through, and you have to keep. You never can take your eye off of the drone. You can't look down. You can't do it. Except that's why you got to know your stick and rudders and your yaw and all that, because you have to consistently raise the drone up as you're getting higher. You have to reposition it, so to speak, very slight movements, and then you fly it out of the hole. And that hole is the opening in the trees, and then you're above, looking in the case of the Eastern Shore, the Chesapeake Bay or whatever, and then you reverse, you fly it backwards. So what you're doing there is every single thing around you is a reveal. That it's the most awesome footage in the world, and it's very creative, and it's actually pretty easy to do. Once you understand that that's the only thing you have to do is keep that drone, that dot, in the middle of the hole.
Right.
That's the whole thing of line of sight flying. Very few people do it, probably because they're in fear of hitting something or losing their drone.
Sure.
But you just start off with a really big area, a big hole, like between two trees, and that can be very dramatic footage, or between two buildings. And I've got, this is, everybody will laugh at this. But anyway, what these are just different shapes to look for the most common shapes. When I'm out driving around and I'm location, scouting, I'll be in the car and I'll look outside at, okay, where can I do some line of sight flying with the drone? And you'll have different shapes. You'll have circles. You'll have like triangles between trees, different like U shapes. I fly under water features and swimming pools.
Sure. You in one of your videos, I saw you fly through a tire. On
the love sign, I flew through a tire, and that was planned. I did 2 parallax moves around the Cape Charles love sign, and then Then the ending shot was to fly through the tire, which the opening was only about that big, and then it would ascend when it flew through. Over the scene would be the sun setting with the people walking on the beach, and that was the last shot for the tourism film, which was which is really nice. So it opens up. I mean, line of sight flying. It opens up a whole new world of cinematography.
Admittedly, I'm heads down into my monitor, and I fly a lot with my monitor and really don't. So sometimes when I look up, I'm like, is that back or forward here?
Yeah, I rarely look. Well, I never look at the monitor when I'm flying line of sight. Never. Only time I really look at a monitor is if I'm doing some establishing shots. That's about it. Which is usually done on every shoot. You're going to do an establishing shot of where you are, and we'll use the monitor for that. But yeah,
I noticed,
really cool.
I guess with your show, it really added another dimension. You were probably doing fishing shows for a long time before you had the first drone shot, but what a difference that must have made for those shows, right?
Yeah, it did. I think the first time we used it was on Pamlico Sound, and it was I can't remember how many propellers that drone had. It was one of the very early ones, but it could track. So we had a track in the boat going way up at the Pamlico Sound. We were doing a trout show. It's on our YouTube channel, and it was beautiful. It was really just before the smaller drones were coming out on the market, and I was still waiting. The boat company actually owned that drone, and actually owned a couple that I used before I finally. At that time, drones were coming out on the market so fast that it was just a matter of, okay, if I wait a few months, I'm sure I'm going to get the one that will be the most useful for me. So I didn't have to go through buying 10 different drones because my clients had them anyway.
Sure. But eventually you bought your own.
Yes,
so
I did.
And
it was a smaller drone. It's only about this big, and I wanted a smaller one so that I could fly in really, really tight places. And it had all the specs that I needed. And it still flies great. The only problem is the manufacturer does not support the drones after maybe 2 years. So I can't buy new batteries for it. I've got 2 batteries that work. and I don't use it that much because I only use it for the Jim Baugh Outdoors show, and everything that I do for the construction company, Solid Structures, I'm flying their drones. So
So
they're brand new.
the only drone I've ever lost in my life was over the Chesapeake Bay. And so whenever you're flying over water, the opportunity, if something goes wrong, it's kind of like that's pretty much it, right? Have you ever lost a drone?
No, I've never lost a drone. I've never actually really crashed a drone. I've had some instances to where probably about 75% of my flying is between 5 feet and 75 feet. About 75%, because I look at a drone as a crane simulation, something that can simulate an extended film crane, which means you're going to be from the ground level, AGL, up to maybe 75 feet. 80 feet.
Yeah.
So that's really where I live and work with drones, is in that area. So pretty much for establishing shots for the outdoor show, I do a lot of land over water because it's safer. And the drone that I have is very successful with electromagnetic interference. And so when I have been on boats, it would go into ADI mode. You do not want to be in ADI mode. So I typically don't fly off of boats.
Sure.
Not typically.
Well, your line of sight though, having that skill is really good for ADI mode because it does kind of give you the opportunity to use that skill more than anything else.
Well, that's happened, and it's on one of the clips that I sent. The danger of flying in the woods where it's very, very thick and really covered is that you can lose your GPS signal. And that happened to me once. So when you're flying, everything's great. All of a sudden, your drone goes into ADI mode. You've lost GPS, and then you really have to control it. So you have to be aware. So when you're sitting there looking at it, you know when it goes into ADI mode. You have to control it the whole time, and then bring it back. So you want to be aware of that if you're doing line of sight flying. But if you have overhead structures, it can block your GPS signal. And as long as you're aware of that, you shouldn't get in too much trouble.
So tell me one of the highlights of any of your drone activities. What would one be?
Highlights? I really love the a couple of things. I really love the tourism work that I've done, where I'm flying like under the where was it? It was in Chincoteague. Was it Chincoteague? Where they have the love sign up there and made out of chairs, and there was only a space about like this, and I flew through it and then backwards to reveal the chairs, and then it would go over and reveal, the sound and the water. And those are just really great shots that you just don't see. I mean, so it helps set your video, your film, whatever, apart from anything else that's out there. That, and also some of the work that doing with Solid Structures, flying around cranes. There's one shot that I did recently to where it's a parallax move where it's going around only about maybe 8 feet away from the top of a crane, which is, I don't know how high it is. It's got to be 100 feet, maybe higher than that. And then using the gimbal so that as you're coming around, circling the very top of this crane, the gimbal's going down. So as you're parallaxing, the camera's then going down. So it's an incredible, it's a really good camera move. And I got to do a lot of that, doing the construction work, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess your drone company is Mermaid Bay Air. Is that correct?
Mermaid Bay Air, yeah, and that's because I started at Mermaid Bay, our home on the eastern shore of Virginia. That's where that name came from.
It's a great name. When I saw that, I was like, that is very cool. And I just
It's
love
a great, Gary. It's just a great place to learn. Because again, there's no fly zones. There's none, and we lived on the beach. We had our own beach, and it was just 4 acres of woods all over the bay, and just endless places to do some trick flying, and nobody around to bother you or anything. So that's really where I got my training from, was on living there and on the shore and every day going out.
They can get in touch with you to hire you for that kind of thing still?
Sure. Mermaid Bay is just a little part of my overall production company for editing, filming. I'm pretty much like Monday through Thursdays, 100% Solid Structures. I'm off right now on a little medical leave. I'm had a little hospital thing for the last month, got a new pacemaker. I'm doing great, felt better than ever. But I'll go back in a couple of weeks from this taping. And so Monday through Thursday, Gary, I'm really pretty much around the clock.
So when do you have time to do the outdoor show?
Well, I've got 3 days a week and also several weeks vacation a year. And the fortunate thing about living, whether it's on the Eastern Shore or right here, I don't have to travel very far. I mean,
Right in your backyard.
I mean, the beach is right here in my backyard. And, so travel really isn't an issue. It doesn't take me very long to go once the fish are running, then it doesn't take that long. It can take.
And where can you catch the outdoor show, right? The Jim Baugh outdoor show, right?
Jim Baugh Outdoors TV. And it has taken up to a year to film some shows. But if the fish are really running, I can shoot 2 shows in a day as far as the fishing footage easily, and then take time to do all the B-roll.
And your footage is really remarkably great. I think people need to go onto YouTube and check it out because it is absolutely phenomenal, and you can tell your skill is high.
Well, thank you. And I think if they take the basic steps for line of sight flying, and just have the nerve to turn everything off, and realize the simple technique of keeping that drone in the window of whatever it is you're flying, and you cannot break concentration while doing it. You cannot be talking to people. It's happened to me a few times. People come up and I just can't talk. So sorry, wait till I finish. We did a really cool thing. My son is a geologist and he lives in Denver, and I was up there right before Christmas. And he's gotten into drones. He loves photography. He grew up on the show since he was a little teeny boy. So is my daughter. And so he took me up there. He bought a drone, and we went up to the top, probably 11,000 feet, and did some really cool Rocky Mountain snow.
With the snow in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really neat. And I showed him a little bit of line of sight stuff, and he got to fly, between some trees. Very dramatic. I mean, if you just even fly between a couple of trees that aren't that close together, and you're going through the middle of them, very safe.
Gives you that reveal.
Yeah, it's a great reveal. I typically won't even do a drone shot unless there's a reveal to it, unless it's just an establishing shot.
Right. So tell me, I didn't even realize when we started talking here about the construction side. You're using your drones in construction work. Are you doing mapping, or what is the use?
Promotional. Strictly promotional. What I do is I'll go out and film. I've got about 4 or 5 cameras. One of them's a drone. I do a lot of drone work for the company. And then I'll put together construction videos, like from beginning to end. I do a lot of time-lapse work and then intercut with the drone footage. And we do testimonials, which will include, of course, a lot of the raw footage. And that's how it's used. I don't do any mapping. Hey, lastly, before I go, the only thing we didn't talk about, and again, I didn't want to mention any manufacturers. Everybody's doing some great stuff these days. But I ran into a big problem with geofencing. And if you're going to be a commercial, I have Part 107 license, but if you're going to be doing any sort of commercial work with whatever drones you have, try to stay away from any manufacturer that does geofencing. Because if you haven't run into a problem with it, you will. If you get a job somewhere like Virginia Beach is horrible for geofencing. Sure. I mean, I get probably 30% of the shoots that I go on, I can't film because I'm grounded with the drone. So I have to simulate it with a 360 on a 10-foot pole, that sort of thing.
Great stuff. Hey, Jim, thanks so much. It is wonderful catching up with you. First of all, you keep taking care of yourself. I know you've had this medical scare. You look great.
Oh, thanks. Feel great.
Hope that you continue to work for many years to come.
I will. I'll be back in from day to this airing a couple weeks. Yeah, I'll be back full swing filming. So I appreciate it. It's great to see you again. And y'all check out our YouTube channels, everything Jim Baugh Outdoors TV. Just Google it and everything will come up.
I'm gonna put all that right here on the front here, and also in the notes. Okay.
Good deal. Thanks, Gary. It's great to see you again.
Thank you. Fly safe.
All right, so great interview with
Yes.
Jim.
Yes, I can see why you say it's a cool guy. He looks cool.
Yeah, well, the pool, he doesn't make the pools, but he flies the pools.
He flies the pool,
Yeah, yeah. It's a cool company to be working for.
Yes.
And he's one of the first guys, is what's really neat. And the reason I went to him to interview, he was the first guy using these drones like 10, 12 years ago. He was starting to
What was he
mess with
flying?
stuff. He didn't even, well, he says in the interview, he didn't fly them himself yet, but he knew the power. He understood how strong it was for media and use that into his shows as establishing shots. And I think he's a cool guy. He had a lot to say. As a matter of fact, I had to trim the interview down to just 22 minutes or so because he knows a lot about drones, and it could have gone a whole lot longer. Maybe later on we'll even put that whole show, the entire interview, up on YouTube just so you can hear everything he had to say.
That'd be good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Been a busy week. How have you been?
You can hear allergies is kicking my butt.
Right.
But yeah, it's been busy for me. Been working on a few projects, and work is kind of crazy.
I know I've been handing you a bunch of drones
so-
to fix. You've been busy with that, right?
Oh yeah, been working on quite a few drones. Thank you very much.
Glad to pass those over to you because I don't work on them, but he does.
And luckily, no drone were lost during the scavenger hunt.
That's right, the scavenger hunt. We're going to get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I do want to tell you though, my work has been crazy this week.
Yeah.
I've been all over the state working for Sight View.
Sight view.
Sight View, yeah. They hire me to do orthos and facades and just mapping stuff of locations. They actually do a lot of pavement assessment. So they look at a whole area, whether it be a business building or a Walmart parking lot, and you do an ortho map, and then they take it in, they put it into their voodoo stuff, and they can tell you if there's a problem that they need to fix.
So how does one get a job with SightView?
Well, you have to go on and apply. They have a pretty deep onboarding program.
Okay.
Everything from a background check to they make you run a couple of different ortho map tests to see if you
Are
make
you a
the grade.
contractor or are you an employee?
I'm just like a subcontractor is what I would say. Yeah, yeah.
How do you get gigs?
Yeah, it's kind of
You
fun.
get to pick your gigs.
Yeah, and they're good. And there's another company that I'm working for too called Trace Air. Good people. They really have a good system and a lot of support. So I like both of these companies. So a lot of fun. Anyway, we'll get to that. But hey, let's get first into our news stories. You got a news story for us? Hold on. Let's see the news. We're back with our news stories today. Prek, what you got for us?
Military drone.
Military.
This is very interesting. When I was growing up, I was playing this game called R-Type on Nintendo, where you have a computer, you have a spaceship, and you have two side orbs that protects, and you can send it out to attack. You know, and so now the U.S. military, the Air Force, has actually awarded a contract of the CCA Drone Program, and the CAA stands for Collaborative Combat Aircraft. In other words, a wingman. So in the future, 2026, you're going to see an F-35 with two drones right next to it, and so the F-35 pilot is the commander, and he or she could be far away from danger while they send the two drones. They can pilot the drones
To go attack something. So keeping
surveillance.
keeping the air pilot safe,
Exactly.
and putting these guys more into the danger zone.
Yep. Well, the company
Danger
Anduril and General Atomic has won the contract. I'm sorry, what was that?
I just said danger zone. I thought
The
that was
danger zone. Yeah.
kind of funny.
And so I think this is leaning towards, like, if you are a pilot and also an expert video game player, I think you might have a future in the Air Force.
Wow.
Because now, again, the kids who are growing up during my generation, we were amazed with video games and movies. And when we get older, we go to technical schools, and now we aspire to bring our fiction life to reality.
Sure.
And so every technology you see now, electric car, robots, VR goggles, those are all created by kids my generation when I was younger and people in my generation. Because, again, every generation, they live a fiction, and then when they get older, they bring the fiction to reality.
Sure. My generation did it with Star Trek.
Oh,
you
yes.
know, we have
The telephone, the flip phone,
the flip phone that
Motorola.
came out of Star Trek, all kinds of other communication things like that. But yeah, this is great, and I can't wait to see more of this.
Oh, yes.
That is amazing. The pictures are phenomenal. And what a great idea coming from an old video game using the concept in today's warfare.
Yeah, so now one pilot can technically control multiple drones.
Right.
And
And probably
insane.
some of that will probably be AI working with the plane and everything else.
Definitely.
Kind of routes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, listen, my news story is really not a news story at all, other than it may be historical in some ways. We had the very first scavenger hunt, drone scavenger hunt.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
That was fun.
And this was kind of an interesting thing. It started all at the Sloop John B., who's a nice restaurant at the Regency Square out in the West End portion of Richmond here, run by a good friend of mine, Garland Taylor, and he was very kind to help us use his rooftop, which he has the largest
Oh, so
rooftop
beautiful.
space in all of Richmond, which is kind of neat because there's some good rooftops in Richmond. But this was a perfect place. We had it all by ourselves.
To launch a drone.
To launch drones from the rooftop.
Beautiful.
So the way it worked out, just to kind of give you an idea, we had a total of 60 points that could be got, 48 targets that were out around the Richmond area within a 5-mile radius.
Yes.
Okay. We started at 1 o'clock. I downloaded, everybody got a copy of the Google Maps. And they took the Google Maps and they headed out the door and they had to hit the places. Now, each target was worth 1 point, except for 4 targets were worth 5 points. They were the heavy hitter targets, and they include the Coliseum, the Carvana Tower, okay, the Diamond, and finally our state capitol. If you got pictures of those with your drone, you got an extra 5 points per target.
I was so surprised they allow us to fly drone near the Capitol
Yeah,
building.
it's still a flight zone. Except
beautiful.
during some parts of the year.
Yeah.
Anyway, then you got back to our restaurant there at the Sloop John B., and there were 12 points you could get from the rooftop. And you didn't get that list until you got back. Okay? You had to finish all of this under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Now, it seemed like an impossible task. It was nearly an impossible task, except for one person.
Yes.
One person was able to
She
get.
was a pro.
Did you say she?
She.
Yes. She got to all of them and beat all the guys.
Yes.
And it was amazing. And her name is Alicia Helm, and she was absolutely a pro.
The best pilot did not win.
No. I mean, yeah.
The smartest pilot won.
She was smart, and she's so fast. And the reason she's fast, and I think this is the secret sauce, she does a lot of real estate work. And in real estate work, the way you make money is to get from one place to the next, to the next, to the next, and get the plane up, get your shot, get back in the car, get to the next one. She is a absolute amazing drone pilot, and she can do that faster than anybody.
In most of these cases, you land in one location, you have 3 or 4 targets within your flight distance.
That's right. That's right.
That's what she did.
Yep.
It was like people there say it was like the Cannonball Run.
It was like the Cannonball Run, and it worked out really fun. Everybody had a good time. But the main purpose was not whether, I mean, we did give away like a $100 gift certificate to Target, okay? You get it, Target.
Yeah, Target.
And so that happened, and everybody had a good time. We even gave free lunch before we got started.
Oh, yes.
And everybody got a chance to do what we do best, and that is just talk about drones.
Oh, there was more fun after the event also, because it was a great meet and greet.
Yeah.
Share cards, and now we have more contact and more friends.
Sure.
And it's only going to just exponentially grow by
Yeah,
from
and
there.
I hope next time, I mean, we had like 15 players or something like that this time. I'd love to have 50 players next time. So guys, if you're out there, please, when we do this, I think we'll probably do it in October.
Yes.
Wait till October and do it again. But it really was kind of cool. I don't know if that's ever been done anywhere else in the country.
No, but if you want it in your town, contact us.
Yeah, we come out and help.
We'll set it up.
Help put it together for you.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my news story. So I guess
That
we're
was
about
awesome.
ready for my favorite part of the show, Prax Tips. Hey, and we're back for Prax Tips, and we got a little special thing going today. Prax, tell us about it.
Well, okay, like I said, I have a lot of drones. A lot of them are pretty simple fix. I mean, I don't mind, but right now I am backlogged. And I have my YouTube channel, I Repair MD. You can look it up. And I have so many different, real-time repair for different drones. So if you're interested, go to my YouTube. The link is going to be below. And go to my website if you do need the parts for the repair. It's www.irepairmd.com. But again, most cases, whether you need small parts or or batteries, I usually don't carry that one. I recommend you search eBay or Amazon. Again, and once you have those parts, most of those parts actually are linked to my repair videos. So,
Well, I'm not a guy that likes to repair my own stuff. That's why
yes.
we became
Yes.
friends even through that process. But if you go to the site, and I've been on it a couple times to watch some of the stuff you've done, you really break it down so that if you're, kind of person who likes to
yes.
do it yourself, you just watch that video, stop it, work on the part.
Rewind if you have to.
Rewind, yep, and then keep working, play a little more, and you really do a great job of explaining how to do it yourself. If
You know
really
how I first got to that? My sister had an iPhone 4, and she broke it. And then I saw there was a screen available on eBay. I never fixed an iPhone before. So what I did was I recorded for my documentation, because when you have all these small pieces, the hardest thing, what's the hardest thing to do after you take stuff apart?
put it back together.
Exactly. What does a video allow you to do?
It lets you see what you did as you took it apart.
Play it backward.
Right.
So you can put
Yeah.
it back together by playing it backward. And
So,
so
that's-
I did that. I posted on YouTube, and all of a sudden I get all this crazy amount of likes. And then,
Yeah.
like I said,
He has over 40,000 followers
Yeah.
on his site. So guys, check it out. Lots of great videos about drones, about iPhones, about even I think you did the scooters, right?
oh yes, everything, pretty much electronic. Anything
Electronic,
that
yeah.
uses a battery, I can
Yep,
fix.
so-
But enough about me. Tell me about your company.
Oh, well, I'm just a little flying drones company. I Fly Drones. That's what it's called. I Fly Drones, simply iflydrones.com. And we're trying to do a little bit of everything. And I'm looking for, more people out there that might want to get on board with me as we're starting to get busier, doing some things.
What is your aspiration for the company?
That's a great question. I would love to see us just get busier, so that I could have 4 or 5 people that I could, count on a daily to give work to. And I think that's what I've always done with other businesses. And this is not my first business that I've
Yes.
owned and sold. And I would just love to see this one get as busy as others.
You want to have people say go to your site, iflydrones.com, and maybe type in their address and see if there's a local drone pilot that they can contact through your site.
Sure.
And other drone pilots who wants to be recognized, maybe submit
Yeah.
a demo reel to
Send,
you.
send your information to me.
A directory of all drone pilots that's certified
That would be, yeah, we could
with
do
the
that.
drone they fly.
It'd be like an agency.
It'd be an agency.
Like the Uber of
Like
drones.
you're right. Yep.
Well, listen, it's been a great show.
Oh yes.
Always a pleasure. Enjoyed the interview with Jim Baugh. We're going to have another exciting interview
yes.
coming up next week. I'm not even going to tell you who it is yet. You have to tune in next week to find out. And hope you guys have a great week. And fly safe.
Yes, fly safe. That was my line. Or maybe it's our line.
Are you flying drones today?